friends! Welcome back to Crazy Brave Homeschool. My name is Ashley and I'm a homeschool mom to a rising third grader and rising kindergartner as we are at the tail end of our school year. We have 1 week left and then we have a couple days for oral exams with my second grader, and then we're taking a bit of a summer break. So in this video, this is going to be short and sweet. I wanted to make sure that I didn't pass up the chance to review a grammar program that we used this year, and I believe we used a bit of last year. It's taken us a little while to get through the whole program. We took it a little slow, but I wanted to review it because we really enjoyed using this program. We're planning to use their second level next year in third grade. And yeah, I just wanted to give it some love because it worked out pretty well for us. So the program I'm talking about is First Language Lessons. This is a grammar program from the Well-Trained Mind Press, and it's by Jessie Weiss. I have mentioned this program several times on my channel as it has been with us for quite some time. I can't really remember when we started it. I think we started it around January of 2024 and used it for the second half of first grade. And then when I came upon the McGuffey readers and how to really use the readers as like a whole comprehensive language arts program, which we did for a few months, I did set this down because it felt a little redundant. But then I missed it. I missed the hand-holding that this offers for new homeschool educators, and we picked it back up. So I'm going to give just a short kind of pros and cons of this program. I will mention, again, this is level 1. I believe the series goes to level 4. And honestly, you can start this program at any age. I believe that perhaps level 1 is meant to be for first graders. And that felt appropriate bringing it in when we did in first grade. The table of contents shows that there are 100 lessons. We did most of those. I did find that we were able to skip through some. Sometimes I had already taught certain things, like days of the week, say, and it wasn't necessary to revisit the lessons coming up in this book about that. So we did skip some of them, but all in all, with breaks, we set this down for last summer and then we set it down for a few months this year. So with breaks, this did take us a year and a half to finish. I just kind of wanted to hit, before I give you my pros and cons about it, I just wanted to hit the 4 bullet points here that are the goals for, okay, so it says here grade 1. The 4 goals are to train the child's ear by allowing him to listen to correctly spoken language. Number 2, to train the child's speech by practicing correctly spoken grammar with him. Number 3, to train the child's attention by reading aloud to him and having him narrate back to you the content or storyline using proper grammar. And then number 4, to teach beginning skills in grammar, capitalization, and punctuation. And then it just kind of gives you like the 4 strands of this program, which would be memory work, copy work, narration, and grammar. So this is a very classic curriculum and very Charlotte Mason, and it is really built on those 4 principles: memory work, copy work, narration, and grammar as the cornerstones in building a foundation for grammar for your child. The reason that I thought that this worked really well for us was because it was very gentle, but also very intentional. So I'll just kind of go over the pros right now. Number 1, again, very gentle. My daughter was coming off of a self-led kindergarten year where we didn't do formal lessons. And so introducing this about halfway through that year of first grade was really perfect for her because this does not come with a workbook. We are not a workbook heavy family. We still aren't, even though we've been at this for a few years now. And I really appreciated that. What it does incorporate is some copy work. Even then, the copy work doesn't really start right away, I don't believe. Around lesson 4, it does say, if the child is writing easily, have him copy family names using correct capitalization. So there are, at the end of each lesson, there are these little enrichment activities that are optional, and that is where it incorporates the copy work. But that's if your child is writing, and if they're doing it easily enough. So if it doesn't come with a workbook, I needed something, right? And so I printed off the original McGuffey's First Reader Companion Notebook from Land of Kakiak. This is a shop on Etsy. I was using this primarily with our McGuffey lessons, but realized that this comes in really handy for the copy work assignments from first language lessons. Let me see if I can find one. So these companion notebooks have a page for copy work. And so she would copy work the sentence. And then just so that, because she was really spacing her letters out very wide, and then her words were very close. So I would take a highlighter and underline the same space that my word would take up on her lines. And so she knew to fit those letters in on that line. And then after she was done, I would go through and just circle a couple of the letters that were a little sloppy, didn't fit within her lines. And that would be our copy work assignment from something like this. Okay, so other parts that make it really gentle that I thought were pros about this program, the lessons are very short. The lessons were probably 5, maybe 10 minutes if there was a writing assignment. So this is one lesson here, and it does get gradually longer as the program goes on. Lesson 2 is just reading a poem and reading it aloud 3 times in a row. And if the child can at that point, have the child read it with you. That's one lesson. I'll talk a little bit more about poetry memorization in this. Lesson 3 is a page and a half, but this is what I mean by it being scripted. So you can see what I mean by it being scripted. It literally has what the instructor says, and then what the child will most likely say, or what the child is supposed to say in terms of repeating something or answering a question in a complete sentence. So for example, the instructor would say, the first part of the definition is, a noun is the name of a person. You are a person. Are you a boy or a girl? So instead of my daughter saying a girl, she would respond, I am a girl, right? So I will say the repeating back in complete sentences was not something that came naturally to her. And even by the end of the program, she was not repeating in full sentences all the time. In fact, more often than not, she would repeat with a fragment, and then I would have to remind her, coax her, nope, we're going to say it in a full sentence. Or before she could even answer, I would remind her and respond in a full sentence or complete sentence. So I'm hoping that by level 2, that will start to catch on a little bit more easily to her. But I would say that part didn't go super well. It's also a gentle program in that it is perfect for struggling or late readers. So I notice with a lot of grammar programs, they can be like really hands-on, a lot of workbooks, reading, and or through activities, which usually requires some reading too. So because my daughter was a late reader, a bit of a late reader, this was perfect. It didn't require her to read anything. And what I liked even more about it is that I enjoy teacher intensive curriculum. And this is really just a conversation between her and I. That's honestly what it felt like. We could do this anywhere in the house. We could sit on the couch, and it's just a conversation about speech together. I really enjoyed that part. It wasn't asking a whole lot out of her, which I really appreciate because grammar is not particularly exciting. So to introduce it in this way that is very gentle and hands-off, I found worked really well for us, and the fact that she was not reading yet. Now, with that being said, it incorporated all of the elements of language arts that I really love, coming from years of a Charlotte Mason inspired education with the narration and the copy work and poetry memorization. So the narration is not every day. It's probably every 5 lessons where you read something very short and then you ask reading comprehension questions afterwards. So it's not so loose like some Charlotte Mason curriculum where you just ask the child what they remember from the reading or what their favorite part was. And I like that too. But I did like that this was a little more specific in the comprehension questions. Let me find an example. So for lesson 51, this is the reading. It's very short. It's not even 2 pages. And then the reading comprehension questions are here. So for example, the teacher would ask, what made the father sad? And the student would respond. The instructor might ask, what kinds of things were the brothers and sisters arguing about? So they are definitely more specific questions than just tell me what you remember about the story. But I feel like there's still a little bit of wiggle room there for a creative response, right? Like it's not necessarily a yes and no question. What did the father do with the sticks? What did the father ask the children to do with the bundle? What was the father trying to teach his children by having them try to break the whole bundle of sticks? So yeah, again, they're a little open-ended, like what was the lesson, at the end of the story. We had already probably done a lot of narration with other curriculum, so sometimes I'd skip these lessons. My daughter's reading comprehension is read aloud comprehension is really good, but because she is a late reader, I did appreciate these exercises to kind of like work that muscle a little bit when she starts getting into reading comprehension of what she is reading. But I did find that we didn't necessarily need to do all of the reading comprehension in this program because we were already doing it in other areas. The poetry memorization I really liked in this. I didn't know how it was going to go. I've always known I wanted to incorporate poetry in our homeschool, and this was a really gentle, very age-appropriate way to do it. The poems are short for the most part. There were a couple of longer poems in here that we did not work on memorizing, but she did memorize 3 poems out of this program this year. And I guess I kind of forgot the kids, they like memorizing things. Like they think it's fun. So I was pleased to see how easy this went. I wouldn't say that she was like, totally excited to memorize a poem, but she did it easily enough. And I think it brought her some joy in just knowing that she could. So I definitely liked that part a lot. I think one of the last things I'll mention is I appreciated that there were other elements to the program aside from just grammar. So they did go through many parts of speech in this program, and I'll name a few. So we went over common nouns, proper nouns, pronouns. We did hit verbs towards the end. We went over the 4 types of sentences. And that's it for the parts of speech. So common nouns, proper nouns, pronouns, action verbs, and the 4 types of sentences. But this program did also hit a lot of other concepts that personally I may have not thought to teach my kids diligently. So some of those things, for example, might be learning your address, learning your phone number, learning the 4 seasons, learning your months and your days of the week. Those are definitely things that we've been working on, since kindergarten, 1st grade. But I really appreciated that they included them in the program in a way that was very intentional and well thought out and scripted. They also went over abbreviations, which is not something I would have thought to teach her had I not had it in a program. So I was surprised to see some of these other elements, like the seasons and calendar work and address and abbreviations in a grammar program. So I really appreciated that. Just to hit a few of the cons, I'd say the biggest con is that no, my daughter didn't really like it. I mean, if I'd pull out this program, it's not like she was excited to do it. But there was very little pushback on it. She knew that the lessons were short, and if there was writing involved, that was going to be pretty minimal too. And honestly, she did pretty well at it. When we did our assessment at the end of the year, I split it into 2 days. There's an assessment in the back. It's 2 pages long. I think it would have been a lot to do the whole thing in one sitting because it's all these questions and then a whole page on the back. I think it might have been an off day for her, but she did get 5 out of maybe 12. She did get about 4 or 5 out of 12 wrong on the first page. But the next day she did a lot better, and she only got like 1.5 wrong out of 12 questions. So I think all in all, that's pretty great. I'm okay with that. I will say another con is that it is a redundant program, like many are, especially when they're built on memorization. So the lessons, what I do appreciate is that there is a good mix of lessons in here in terms of today we're going to practice memorizing parts of speech, and then another day we're going to work on poetry memorization, and then maybe another day we're going to do narration with a story. So I really appreciate that. That helped the redundancy a lot. But there were many lessons that was just tell me an example of a common noun, tell me an example of a proper noun. And then just having a conversation based around those parts of speech. So I don't know, she's not wildly excited for it, that's for sure. The last con I will say is that, and I don't know if I know exactly the right terminology to use for this, but it seems a little abstract. So, but again, she wasn't reading much when we were doing this. So it's not like other programs where children are literally seeing what the verbs or proper nouns or adjectives are on the page while they're reading a story. That's not what this is. This is just verbal instruction. So what I mean by a bit abstract is that, like, if I'm having her memorize what a proper noun is, it feels maybe a little disjointed from actually seeing the words. But, again, she wasn't quite reading, so that was okay. And you are having conversations about plenty of examples of those parts of speech. I mean, that's really what the whole program is based on, is like examples of a common noun are a mother and a father, except that your mother and father have names, and those names are proper nouns. Give me some examples of common noun places. Now give me an example of a proper noun place. So the conversations, I think, were fantastic. But again, do you know what I mean by it just perhaps might have been felt a little abstract or disjointed if she's not actually seeing these rules on paper? I don't know. I don't really know if that's a con or not. It's just something that I feel aware of. So we will be moving forward with First Language Lessons Level 2. This is a fatter book. So this one is, I think they're both 100 lessons, but I think that the lessons start to amp up in this one. So this also does not come with a workbook yet. I believe the workbook for First Language Lessons starts in Level 3. So we have not started this yet, but I have a freshly printed companion notebook to partner with this. I do know too that this is going to require a little bit more writing. There is definitely more copy work, and not only that, but it might say something like have the student write other sentences that use pronouns. So they're not giving you an example or anything, and they're not giving you anything to copy work. They're just saying have the student write sentences with pronouns. So I think that this is fantastic. This is almost going to be like another supplemental writing program for us. And then again, in the early part of this program around lesson 22, it does introduce dictation, we're going to be doing dictation with our other language arts program with Blossom and Root, and so we may skip the dictation in here, although the dictation sentences might be better suited for her in this program than they are in Blossom and Root. So we'll just have to see which one we like better, but I'll have options. Okay, you guys, I will definitely talk more about First Language Lessons Level 2 as we get into this next school year. I hope that gave you some good information about this program, and if you are trying to decide if this will work for you, any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I will see you there. All right, thanks. Bye.